souls means nothing to such men. If there be money, then the Sabbath is a day of work.
One last question. Why did you sail for England without the consent of this board?
Sir, I would remind you that I was sent to America to instruct the Indians. After 2 years, being still prevented from fulfilling my mission, I felt myself free to return when I would.
The task was too much for you. In plain words, you have failed. I am right, sir, am I not?
Here is the license granted me for the performance of my duties in Savannah. I leave it with you.
Sir, that you desire to accept your resignation?
I shall not be returning to Georgia. With your permission, gentlemen, I will remove myself.
Do you remain in London?
At the moment, I am staying at the bookshop known as the Bible and Sun in Little Wild Street.
Thank you.
Have you known Mr. Wesley long, sir?
I met him last night for the first time.
A sick man, sir, if you ask me.
Indeed?
But I should not be remarking on such things. I had in mind, young sir, the days before Mr. Wesley went to America. Never have I seen a man so set upon his purpose.
And since his return, you see a change?
I pray for him. Though I would not have him know it.
Come, take off your cloak. John will surely be here soon.
But he will be tired.
Oh, no, no, he'd not forgive me if I let you go. He'll want to know all about your church in Germany, about the persecution you've suffered. Besides, I think you'll be good for him.
Good for him?
Peter, you and I have become close friends. I can speak freely.
Of course.
John Wesley gave up everything to go to Georgia. I'm worried about him. He's returned a desperately disappointed man.
He did not appear so.
Oh, it's true, nevertheless. Now, tomorrow, he plans to go to Oxford to meet his brother Charles. I'm glad. I wish you could travel with him, to keep him company.
Why, I should be delighted. But I cannot thrust myself upon him.
We'll talk of this later. John, hello.
Why, Mr. Bowler.
You remember me?
Of course. It was but last evening that we met. Do sit down.
Thank you. Peter is to sail very soon for Georgia.
Yes, I know. My brother Charles has told me of you in his letters.
Both your brother and Mr. Hutton have been very good to me. And I long to hear all you can tell me about America. But not now. You need some rest.
Oh, a talk between friends will soon revive me.
Tell me, how were you received?
By the trustees. They were dismayed by what I told them. What a different tale I'd hoped to tell. If only I myself had not been such a failure.
Oh, come now, Mr. Wesley. I've heard how you gave up everything.
That is true enough. I forsook everything that I held most dear. But it was not, as I then thought, for the sake of others, but for myself.
How so?
I will confess it freely. By undertaking such a good work, by facing unknown dangers, I hope to gain the greatest prize of all, the saving of my own soul. It was my chance. Here at last was the task for which I'd been so miraculously preserved.
Miraculously preserved?
Something happened in my childhood that nearly cost me my life.
Tell me of it.
My father was a country parson. One evening, when we were all asleep, a fire broke out.
Will you need me any more, Master Hutton?
No, it's time you went there, William.
But in the panic, I was overlooked. By God's grace, I was rescued in the nick of time.
Well, good evening, sir.
I think I
Good evening, William.
hear my mother's cry.
I'll close the shop up now.
Saved from the flames. A brand plucked from the burning.
Brand from the burning. Ah, now I understand. It was instilled into you as a child that you were destined to perform some very special service.
I doubt if I ever really thought of it that way. Yet, when the chance came for me to go to Georgia, you can see, can't you, how it appeared to me. And now...
I'll leave you two to talk.
What happened to you after the fire? Was your family driven away?
No, the rectory was rebuilt. My parents, of course, were poorer than ever. Yet their chief concern was still our education. When I was 10, I went to Charterhouse, a preparatory school. From there, I gained a scholarship to Oxford. In my imagination, I'd always seen Oxford as a sober, studious place, a kind of scholar's haven. But it was very far from that. Drinking, gambling, the taverns full of students. I was 17, straight from school, and this whole new world astonished me. The absence of all discipline, the lack of thought for anything but pleasure and diversions. Happily, as I soon discovered, learning was to be had by those who sought it. I started to keep a diary, opening it with a list of rules. Begin and end every day with God. Be diligent in your calling. Employ all spare